So my mom abandoned me at the age of 5. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, she comes waltzing back into my life like I owe her something. And guys, when I tell you what she does, you're not going to believe it. I'll just go ahead and tell you. She tries to steal my husband. Hey guys, I'm OP, 36 female. Mothers are supposed to be very important and instrumental people in shaping the lives of their children. But growing up, my mom neglected me and was left to figure out most of life on my own. I would not be wrong if I said I had the worst mother anybody could ever ask for. Anyways, after abandoning me to live her a loose lifestyle, more than 20 years ago, she waltzes back into my life like nothing happened, and then she ends up marrying my ex-husband. I don't know if I had the typical childhood story because many things were not right in my childhood. As an African girl, we were trained from a very young age to do chores and care for the house and ourselves. Also, it usually was responsible of the child's mother to show her daughter how to do these things and teach her how to be a woman from a very early age. Unfortunately, I never got to experience learning from my mom because she abandoned me when I was 4 years of age, and she left with one of her lovers. I grew up with my uncle and cousins, and the old man did everything he could to care for me as a kid. He trained me to become the woman I have become. My aunt, God bless that woman, tried her best to care for me, despite having her kids, and she never maltreated me. I grew up under my uncle's roof for 24 years, and after I attended university and started my life, I moved out of the house. Throughout those years, my mom was absent from my life. The only memories I had of her were the pictures of my uncle that had given to me. As a child, even though my uncle knew my mother had abandoned me and would not come back for me, he always made me believe that she would come back one day. Well, throughout my childhood and the teenage years, that never happened. The only things I heard were rumors from people who traveled to the city and bumped into my mom. These rumors were bad ones, and it did not take long before the people in my hometown started to spread that my mom abandoned me to live that kind of loose lifestyle that she wanted. And I was a motherless child, because I simply did not know who my father was. Well, as a child, these rumors affected me in so many ways, and they ruined my childhood. Kids in the neighborhood and school began to tease me about being abandoned by my mom. It affected my self-worth and esteem, and it always made me sad. No matter how many times my uncle tried to convince me that my mom loved me and she would come back for me, I did not believe him. Instead, I thought that there was something wrong with me, and it was the reason my mother abandoned me at such a young age. Because of the nasty rumors and the things I told myself, I kept, not being able to get friends. I always felt I wasn't worthy enough, and I didn't want to be picked on with whoever I argued with my classmates. After high school, my uncle sponsored my university education, and I got my dream degree. It was at the university that I learned to be a bit social, and I was able to make a couple of friends there. Honestly, making new friends at the university was so easy because they did not know anything about my family history, and no one picked on me like my classmates from high school. From childhood, I always had a passion for food, and my dream was to open my own restaurant and pastry shop. Thankfully, after university, my uncle supported me with the little that he had saved for me, and that was how my mini restaurant was brought to life. A year and a few months into the business, my restaurant was booming. I made a lot of money, and for me, life was good. I was happy. Things were going just fine until my mother showed up. Almost 26 years after my mom left me, she came out of the blue and she claimed that she wanted to mend our broken relationship. That day, I was in a restaurant when my uncle called. He sounded off over the phone, and he said that there was somebody he wanted me to see. He asked me to come home right away since he was the father figure in my life. I obeyed him and left the restaurant immediately to go to his house. Upon getting to my uncle's house, I noticed that there were people outside the home. I lived in a small community where everybody knows everyone, so it was easy for news to fly around. When I saw all those people, my first instinct was that somebody died. But when I entered the house and I saw my mom sitting on the couch, I did not know how to react. After all those years, I expected that when I eventually saw her, I would be excited to see her, or I would be mad at her for abandoning me at the age of 4. But that day, none of those feelings came. I was just blank, and I did not know what to say or do. I just stood there staring at her, and my uncle did not look happy, but he had to play along. That was how my mom came into my life. With my mom in the picture, everything changed. She claimed that she had moved back to our hometown because of me. My guess was she must have heard I opened up a restaurant and I was successful, so she must have returned to see if it was true. She tries to get close to me, but no matter how hard she tried, it always felt like she was forcing the relationship. I know I had always wanted to do many things with my mother, maybe cook with her or go shopping with her, but when she suddenly showed up to tick those boxes off, well, my mother and daughter to-do list, things felt really awkward. Honestly, the first few weeks were not easy for me, but I did not shut her out or try to push her away. 3 months after she returned, our relationship began to improve, and that's when I started to notice some shady things about my mom. First of all, she was a terrible liar. You know, those kind of liars who tell you 3 different things on 3 separate occasions, and she was one of them. She would lie to you and then forget that she lied. Then I noticed she was more interested in how much money I made from the business than me. Around that time she came home, I was in a relationship with my boyfriend, my now ex-husband, and we were not engaged at the time. My boyfriend was trendy in the hometown because his parents were wealthy. He spent most of his life abroad, so the third shady thing I noticed about her was how she was always looking at my boyfriend whenever he came by or went to the house or the restaurant, and one time I caught her licking and seductively biting her lips while talking to my boyfriend. But when I went to confront her about it, she claimed her lips were dry, and of course they must have just been peeling, and that she was only trying to make it wet to avoid from chapping. As if that was simply just not enough. Whenever my boyfriend would visit and leave, she would ask me questions all about him, which always revolved around some type of money and who his parents were, and honestly I did not think my mom would be interested in my boyfriend, now ex-husband, until it happened. A year after my mom returned to our hometown to patch things up with me, my boyfriend and I got married. Shortly after we were married, we traveled abroad and started our family there. Since he was overseeing and managing one of his dad's businesses, I could start up my restaurant and pastry business there. It was a win-win for us, and also he was super rich. And if none of us were to work for a year, he would still live comfortably without any debts. Even after we married, my mom still visited occasionally. She claimed that she's getting older and wants to spend quality time with me. I'm so stupid. I'm stupid because I was yearning for a mother, and I fell for her sweet words, and I opened up my arms and my house to her so she could come anytime. Gradually, our relationship blossomed, and when twins came, my mom came to live with me as per our African tradition so she could help with the babies. And that's when all hell broke loose, guys. It all started with her closeness to my husband, which I did not initially suspect to be anything. Due to the nature of my husband's job, I'd say most times he was required to work from home, and on those days he could spend the whole day in his room office. I noticed that my mom would cook his favorite meals for him and would be extremely polite. To be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with that, and I used to praise her for being a good mom. I didn't know that all these things brought them closer and built a bond. Then she moved from just cooking for him to calling him my husband in our language, and that's when I began to suspect that something was off. Even with that, I did not do much investigation because I could not bring myself to believe that my aged mom would have an affair with my husband. Also, I trusted my husband. Now, the reason my mom and I fell apart, and I warned her to stop visiting me, was because she did something stupid, and her behavior towards me changed. Well, so after I moved with my ex-husband abroad, my restaurant came back in my country. It was still doing well, and all that weekly and monthly earnings were always remitted to my uncle. This was my only way of steadily paying him back, my uncle, for everything that he's done for me. From the day I decided to do that, I noticed that my mom was not happy about the decision. There was even a time she jokingly told me that she should be the person to receive all the money since she was my mom. I laughed at her joke and told her it wasn't possible and that she should be happy I was even caring for her brother. Little did I know that my mom was furious and jealous of her brother. Since she still lived in my hometown, she began to go to the restaurant at the end of the week to take money from the employees forcefully, and she would ensure nothing was left to give my uncle. My uncle did not tell me any of this, which kept happening over and over for months. I only found out when I talked to one of my younger cousins, complaining about her university fees and how her father could not afford them. When I found out, I was so angry, and I confronted my mother about the evil act that she has been committing, and she did not show any remorse. Her response was, "I gave birth to you, so if there's anyone who deserves the money, it's me, not my brother. I don't see anything he did to deserve such a special treatment." Guys, I was shocked. This came from somebody who got monthly money from me and my husband, and we never complained. That day, I lost it. I yelled at her and called her a leech and a parasite and a terrible person for saying that her brother did not do anything special, after, she abandoned me at the age of 4 for a man who had 2 kids already. I didn't know that she was so greedy until that day, and since then her attitude towards me completely changed. For example, if I had a mild argument with my husband, my mom would support him, not me. Then she starts maltreating my twin. She would spread her entire day doing her manicure, pedicure, and surfing the internet for following things to shop for, and ignoring my twins all day. One day I'd had enough of her and kicked her out of the house. That day we did have a slight argument, and she began to show me how toxic she can be. She said to my face that she had no regrets about leaving me as a kid, and she could not imagine wasting her life on a child like me. She used a lot of swear words and, told me to my face that she wished that she had gotten rid of me like she did with her other pregnancies. For years, I had learned to mask my pain and emotion, so instead of crying and being heartbroken like she expected me to be, I kicked her out of the house in a very embarrassing way, and she just promised to show me the pepper. Now that I think about it, my husband's attitude towards me changed from when he returned home and found out that I kicked my mom out. He didn't say anything or mention the quote, "respect elders" line. He became cold. For almost another year, things continued like that. It was not like we fought. The spark just died. And then something happened, and I decided it's time for a breath of fresh air. The day I told my ex-husband I want a divorce, he didn't say anything to object as why. He just knew I wanted one. He just told me it's okay, and he would respect my decision. Anyways, to cut a long story short, we started processing the divorce papers, and within a couple of months, the divorce was done. Thanks to my lawyer, I won child custody and got alimony from him. After we divorced, I rented an apartment for me and the children. Then I reopened a small restaurant and pastry shop near our new place, just as I planned from day one. So, 7 months after my ex-husband and I divorced, one of my friends called me one day and asked if I had seen my ex-husband post on social media. Well, I said no. Because of what happened, my husband and I did not end things really well. I don't know about him, but I blocked him on every social media platform, long before our divorce was done. I could not believe it when my friend forwarded me what she had seen. Guys, my ex-husband was getting married to my mom, and he just engaged her. He posted it on social to announce that he had found his missing rib, the woman that completes him, and yada yada yada, that he could not wait to be forever with her. I'd be lying if I told you all that I was not heartbroken and disappointed. Well, in fact, for a moment I felt like I was dreaming a vivid dream and wanted to wake up. All of my friends who knew my ex-husband and my mom called to ask if it was true, and I could not even say anything. That same day, the news reached my uncle in my country, and he called me. He told me that he knew my mom was, who she was and could do anything for money. But he did not expect that she would stoop so low to marry her daughter's ex-husband. Anyways, because of what she had done, my uncle and the rest of the family disowned my mom. Of course, what she had done spread in my hometown as wildfire spreads, and everybody was talking about it. Geez, guys, it was shameful. Never had it been heard that a mother married her daughter's ex-husband in less than a year of the daughter's divorce. At that point, I wished she would never come back into my life, because she brought me so much pain, shame, and misery. Anyways, I had to travel to my hometown because I was emotionally down, and I badly needed the support of my family. To cut the story short, my mom and my ex-husband got married last month, and all my mom does on her social media is flaunt pictures of her new husband, her new home, and her car. She's not ashamed that she's married her daughter's ex-husband and doesn't look remorseful. Last week, I was in my new restaurant attending to customers when my mom showed up unexpectedly. She must have heard that I owned the restaurant and she wanted to see things for herself. My new restaurant is not as big as the one back in my hometown, and I planned on expanding it after the business boom. When she saw me in there, she first said, "Oh, my darling, are you mad at Mommy for marrying your ex-hubby? Come on, you should be happy for me." She said it in such a goofy way, then she laughed all by herself. I didn't say a word, I just allowed her to keep talking. Then she said, "You know, for a long time I've always wanted rich, strong man, so this is nothing personal. Yours was just available." I almost laughed at her when she said rich, but I had to hold it in. When she was done talking, she assessed my small restaurant with a mean look and said, "You know, you shouldn't have bothered with this. I know you and the kids are eating from hand to mouth, and as a good grandma with a wealthy husband, I want to adopt them, so they don't have to suffer as you did." She laughed again with how she bragged about her husband's wealth, and I'm sure she has no idea that my ex-husband is no longer as wealthy as he used to be. Exactly 2 months after my ex-husband and I divorced, his business crashed because there was a change in government policy. Well, and his daddy dearest was deceased and could not save his butt as usual, so things got rough. As I share, he is heavily in debt, the kind of debt that he'll spend the rest of his life paying for. My mom doesn't even know it, and she thinks that she hit the jackpot but will only be paying off debts with him for a very long time. When she bragged about him and all the promises he made to her, I laughed so hard and I kicked her out of the restaurant. But that mad woman made a scene and left, and before she did, though, she said that she had not started yet with me, and that she would ruin my restaurant and make sure I came crawling to her and begging for help. It didn't sound like a joke, she was serious. Right now, I don't know if I should be scared because my mom is lousy and dangerous, and if she says something, she will do it. What do I do, guys? I look forward to your comments and suggestions. Thank you. Update number 1. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm sorry it took me a few weeks to make this update. Something happened and I had to take care of it. So many of you said I made a mistake by accepting my mom back, and I should have kept things as they were. Well, this is easier said than done. When my mom suddenly showed up almost 3 decades later, I didn't know what to do. For years, I've wanted to have a relationship with her, and when she came, I felt it was better late than never. If I'd known the kind of person she truly was, I would not have opened my arms and a house to her. Believe me, guys, it's wild. Since my mom came into my life, it's been one issue to another. She's even tried to ruin my relationship with my uncle by lying to my uncle about something I didn't even say. Thank goodness my uncle knew me well and knew I would never say something like that. So, concerning my mom's threats about my business, most of you said that she was bluffing and trying to get me, but she wasn't. 2 weeks ago, something happened in my restaurant that had never happened before. As usual, we had a first-time customer, and after serving him a few minutes later, he called to make a complaint. At first, I thought the soup he ordered was spicy, bland, or cold. But to my great surprise, he said he saw a dead cockroach in the soup and used it soon to bring out a giant red dry cockroach. My goodness, I was shocked to my bones. My kitchen and the restaurant environment were clean to standard. I've never seen a roach in there, and not even once. I tried to explain to the customer that something was wrong and that we would change the soup immediately, but he starts to yell and call everyone's attention that the cockroach was found in the soup. Since he was African like me, everybody believed him and dumped their meals without paying. That same day, I received a call that my restaurant was reported to be unsanitary and needed to be inspected. I knew that was bad news, but I had to pull my crap together. When the inspectors came and inspected my kitchen and restaurant premises, they couldn't find a thing. Also, my restaurant met all the standards, so they had no solid reason to close it. The wrong side was that I lost a lot of customers that day because of what happened and the terrible reviews people left. I'm not kidding, I saw comments like, "Unless you want to dine with rats and roaches, don't go there." Since then, I've been dealing with almost no sales, which is weighing me down, and I need your help. Guys, right now, I don't know what to do. I have slashed my rates to even 50% to attract customers, but it's not working. Everyone has heard about the cockroach in the soup, and I believe my mom has something to do with it. But I can't prove it. My business is suffering. Please help me, guys. I look forward to your comments. Update number 2. Hey guys, I just want to thank you real quick for everything, and you've lifted my spirit. Someone asked if I had a security camera in my restaurant, and I'll be honest, that question helps me unveil the truth. All this while, I'd forgotten entirely about my security system and did not bother checking the footage until I saw that comment. So, I watched the footage, guys, and you will not believe that the man who saw the dead cockroach in his soup walked into the restaurant with a dead cockroach in his pocket and dropped it inside the soup when nobody was looking. Also, watching the video made me notice something weird about him. I'm not kidding if I say that he looked homeless. He had a small backpack, and I was fortunate to look inside that day. I saw a couple of clothings, dishes, blankets, and his brushes, as if he wanted to check whether the man himself had brought the roach. But that day, we could not find any trace of it there. Now, I'm convinced he was paid to ruin my restaurant's reputation by dropping that cockroach in the soup and making a scene. Without wasting time, I contacted the police and reported his action. Thankfully, they found him after just 2 days, and he was taken in for questioning. Just as I suspected, the man admitted that my mom paid him to drop a dead cockroach in the soup and made sure that he ruined my reputation. The most annoying part, he did it for a measly $50. My mom paid him $50 on advance and even an extra $50 at the end of the job. Then she took it upon herself to open multiple emails and write terrible reviews about my restaurant, and she told him how she would take care of the rest of the job after he was done doing his part. I really wanted to let this slide, but seeing how much damage she has done to my business and the number of customers I've lost in the past couple of weeks, I've decided to take action. This is going to court. As I write this, she's been served, and our court hearing is in a few days. Also, I paid the homeless man $500 to stand as my witness, and I tried threatening him, but that didn't work. He said that he would not come in as a witness no matter how much I begged him, so you know what? I decide to pay for his time. Once we're done with the court hearing, I will make another update. Final update. Hey guys, so, I know, this update is so overdue, but I promise it'll be all worth it. Remember, my last update was about suing my mom? Well, I won that case. My witness, her alibi, testified against her, and I showed the judge all the 47 bad reviews that she's written about the restaurant. The judge was so surprised that a mother could do such a thing to her daughter. And she was even more surprised when she learned my mom was married to my ex-husband. To shorten the story, she was ordered to pay me back, well, $6,000 for the losses and defamation of character. Can you guys believe that my mom did not know that her husband was dead broke until she asked him for the $6,000? I'll tell you how I know. Shortly after she paid the money, which took weeks, I don't know how she managed to collect it, by the way, but she called me and said that she wanted to apologize for everything that she has done, and that devil pushed her to do all the things. She claimed she loved me and would not do anything to hurt me, yada yada yada. I laughed so hard that day and hung up the phone on her. That same evening, my uncle called to tell me that my mom called him too, and she used the same illness lines that she said to me. My uncle has always been somebody who doesn't tolerate nonsensical crap, so we told her that she should not bother to apologize because she's no longer a family member. Poor thing didn't even know our family head. Our elders had officially disowned her. Even with that, she kept calling my uncle and other family members, but nobody wanted to talk to her. It was the moment she realized she messed up. She shot herself in the damn foot. Well, so last week I was in my shop doing my thing when a cab pulled over in front of the restaurant and my mom stepped out. My employees, who already knew who she was, they called me immediately after they saw her, and I went straight to the door. When my mom saw me, she flopped down on her knees and starts to beg me. Guys, she was crying. Well, she claimed that she had not eaten a good meal in days and everything they owned was sold to settle the debt. Even her fancy car was auctioned and sold just to pay for the debt. She said that she was suffering and I should forgive her and help her out of this miserable life. Her words, not mine. In addition to that, she looked very lean and malnourished, and her hair looked like something exploded on it. I didn't need a psychic to tell me that she was suffering. Yeah, it's evident. After she was done crying the first round, I told her that she's no longer my mom, and that if she showed up here again, I would call the cops on her. I thought she would leave once I said that, but she didn't. She kept crying and crying and crying and calling attention of passerbyers. Her loud cry was a nuisance to my restaurant, so you know what I did? I called the cops, and when the cops came, she switched immediately and straight up attacked me. She called me names and said I was a piece of crap. And if she could do life again, she would abandon me from birth this time and not even waste 4 years that she did. I was hurt, but I didn't show her my pain. I promised her that if she showed up at my restaurant again, she would be spending a very long time in jail. After she left, I got a restraining order from her. Since then, I haven't seen my eyes on her. It's been weeks now, and she hasn't called either. Anyways, how would I know because I blocked her, and I'm sure she's having a great time with her rich, influential husband. Anyways, she has seen nothing yet. I hope they both have a long, miserable life and burn in hell when it's time. So guys, thank you so much for all the advice and support. I would not have done this without all of you. Alright guys, believe it or not, when I was reviewing some of these comments, there was actually people on the mom side saying that OP went too far, denying her mom, blah blah blah. I don't want to hear it. What the mom did is so despicable, toxic, and just straight up disgusting. Not only did she abandon OP for OP's whole life almost, but then she actually successfully comes back and steals her husband. There's no forgiving that. I think cutting off and blocking was the best route. But anyways, let me know what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. Guys, my name's Mr. Reddito. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you want more juicy dramas, consider subscribing, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.